doing. Please, as always, give me a thumbs up and do pop me a note in the comments so I know you were with me. So welcome to any new members as well. It's great to see our group growing. Join us every Thursday, 6 o'clock in the evening. Now, I am hoping that it's going to be a good connection. I tried something a bit different this evening, so please let me know. Good evening. Kim is the first in the house tonight, followed by Francis, then Kevin. It's great to have you all here. So don't forget, thumbs up, pop me a note in the comments, and also it means that you'll be entered into my giveaway as well. Even if you're watching on the replay, still enter the thumbs up and the comment because you'll be entered as well. Hello Sharon, it's good to have you. Hello Janet. Oh, you like my rose? That's going on the craft store this weekend. And do you know, I've been racking my brains thinking, what can I wear earrings wise to match? So I've made these chandelier style earrings, which I think somebody asked me to do. So I thought we could do it also in a Thursday tutorial time as well. Kim says she's looking forward to this tutorial. I'm really pleased that you're looking forward to it. Hello Jane, don't worry, just pop in when you can. It's great to have you. Hello Linda. So while we're waiting for people to join, let me just show you what we've got, and also a reminder. Now, I'm just going to have a quick look down the toolbox. No, I've definitely not got it. Now, I've been researching why I can't mirror the image back. Now, there's no facility available at the moment on Android phones to basically video live as you see me. So basically my till is on your right. It's actually, no, hang on. It's actually, I'm just trying to get my head around it. The till is to my right, but it will be opposite to you. If you've got an iPhone, it will put that right. There's a button you can press, but there's no button I can press on my phone. So what I'd say is bear with me. It's going to be backwards, but I found an app that I can reverse it and then I'll upload it on YouTube. So that's exactly what I've done with the basic braid Kumihimo, which is exactly the same process we're going to follow, and also the heart one that we did last week, so you can view it in real time the right way around. So just bear with me during the live. Let's just show you what else we've got. So tonight's tutorial is going to be doing Beaded Kumihimo. So this is one from basically a mixed bag of size 8 seed beads. So if you can't really make your mind up on colours, you could just go for one tube of mixed. I've got some silver lined mixed. That's another mixed one in blue. Just to show you the different fastenings, that's a hook and loop fastening. Now, the ends you'll need are between 3 and 4 millimetre. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. This is the style we're going for, which is like the candy cane effect. So you'll need 5 grams of each colour to get the candy cane. And I think what we'll do, maybe we'll have a break for a week and do something else, but then we'll come back and I'll show you how to do this one. So those are the ends that you can also use as well. Could we not do a metal fastening? When you say a metal fastening, what do you mean? Let me know, because we are going to be doing a metal fastening, but I'm not sure if that's whether there's something specific you mean, Kim. So you are going to need a Kumihimo board. Do not use the same Kumihimo board that you use for your rat tail, because it will stretch the slots and you won't get a good tension on it. Been there, done that, honestly. It's worth investing. They're not very expensive. They're only £3.25 each. It's really worth having a couple of these in your stash. It's really fine stuff, so it's S-Long that you need. Now I've got these cards up in the group so that you've got enough to make necklaces as well, so you only need 4 meters of S-Long. But on these cards you've got a selection of different colours. You're going to need your tag tie as well. Let me just have a little look and see what I've missed. Who, what, where? Oh, are you getting freezing? Oh no, not again. I do hope not. Hello, Carol. Francis, yours is fine. Oh, thank goodness. Hello, Carol. Hello, Sue. Hello, Deb. Hello, Saba. Hello, Hilary. Oops. I don't know why my messages just keep shooting out. Hello, Betsy. So Janet says, if you know peyote, Kim, you can make a peyote bead cap, then do a peyote loop and toggle fastening, I would think. Good shout. Can't quite get my head around that one at the moment. But please don't forget to share your makes in at Beaders by Beads by Verchiel. Oh, it's hard to find this week. Sorry about that, Anne. Good to have you. Can you add a weight to help with tension? Thank you for asking that, Kevin. That is something I need to address now. What I would recommend is hop on over to Kumihimo site, and she sells the weights, or one of her friends sells the weights, and they're so much nicer than some of the branded ones because they've got a bulldog clip on them rather than a hook. The hook just keeps falling out. It drives me insane. I have to confess, if I had the Kumihimo, if there was a Kumihimo police, I probably would not be following it because I don't like using weights very often. I personally don't use a weight. Very occasionally I will because it pulls it down. But if I were to use a weight, perhaps with some heavier projects, if you're using heavier beads, you will need them. I would buy them from Pro, because they clip on the bottom and she's got different weights. So for this general beadage, you'd need 50 grams. You can also have a bag of coins if you want to and clip them on to the bottom. Or you could do as I do and find whether or not it works for you without them. It's personal choice. It's recommended by many people to use the weight. So thank you for that, Kevin, for reminding me. Does the donut have holes? Right. The live is jumping. Can you show us your earrings collection in a video? Yes, I will do. Look on YouTube. Yes. Sharon was saying bulldog clips for weight and stop the beads falling off. Yes, absolutely. Right, so the donut's got a hole in the centre, but I will talk you through that when we do a tutorial. So I do hope that everything is okay. Hello, Lydia. It's good to have you. What I will say is, if I miss any of your comments, I apologise in advance. I don't always get them real time. Sometimes I see them afterwards. Right, so just a top tip, Kevin has logged out and logged back in again. It might be worth you doing that. Also, if you've got lots of other apps open on your phone, that also can create some distortion as well. So it's always worth thinking about doing that. Hello, Tracy, good to have you. So you need a tag tie. Now I've got a couple of notes because these are things that I've sort of found along the way. Right, first things first, so I've cut 4 1 meter lengths in S-Long. I've got a gold colour for the first one, and then I've got one that I've almost beaded so that I can show you how to finish the ends. Now, my top tip is have a lighter and just gently brisk it on the end ever so quickly, because you don't want a ball forming on the end for it to not get through the beads. The other thing is you can make your own needle, which we did a while back. I'll show you that in a moment. Right, I'll talk you through the bead keepers. You can use the head pin method as well, which we looked at last week, if you want to use cone ends instead. We're only going to be using 5 grams of each colour in 2 colours, or you can just use 10 grams. You won't use the full 10 grams, you'll have some left over, but it's just really to you know, give it a little bit of extra if you need it. Right, can you do that with a thread burner? I'm not sure, if I'm honest with you. I would say try it and see how it is. So I've actually cut my 4, I think I've got 4 1 meter lengths, there we go. And some people actually make it so that they cut them again, so you've got 8. I don't do that on this particular one, because it saves you having to bind both ends. You only have to bind one. So I'm going to find, honestly, it's like my hair. Crazy and not very easy to tame. We'll get there in the end. Hello, Kay. No worries that you're late. It's just good to have you. Right. So find the rough middle point and wrap your tag tie or very fine wire around it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch you over to my other camera now, hoping we're not getting any drooping this week, ladies. I can't understand last week. I was just huddling further down. Yeah, anyway, it was a bit pear-shaped, wasn't it? But here we go. So do have a chat between you all. Help each other along if you've got any top tips. Have conversations. It doesn't even have to be conversations about what I'm doing. This is all about building your community. So I'm going to zoom in and then I'll address any questions at the end. Sorry for my fingers being in the way. Right, sorry about that. Right, let's just go in a little bit. Right, there we go. If you've got one of my boards, keep this and write in the middle what you use it for, so that you can remind yourself. So tag tie in the middle. Like I say, don't worry, because I'm going to edit this over the next few days so that it's the right way round. Just going to tighten that up a little bit in the middle. So it's laid out in the same way that your 8-strand Kumihimo is laid out. So you try and find the corresponding one and put it diagonally, like so. It doesn't matter hugely, but I just find that it sits better if you can. Now, if you're going to be using a weight, it's a really good time to do it at the start, because that's when it's really at its most slack, if I'm honest. And that's where I think you'd benefit more from the weight. So you'd literally just clip it onto the bottom. Okay, so what you need to do first of all is you need to actually make, let's just switch over to the one I did earlier. You need to actually make some plain Kumihimo so that this will go in the end. Okay, so we would do our usual top right to bottom right. I know it'll be opposite to you, bottom left to top left, quarter turn anti-clockwise, top right to bottom right, oops, bottom left to top left, quarter turn. Now it's up to you whether you want to do this first before you add your beads on. I'm going to show you first, and then I'm going to talk you through some tips about adding the beads. So bottoms up, top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left. Take your time, okay? Take your time to keep that in the center, keep it nice and taut. Bottom right to top right, bottom left to top left, quarter turn. Now, what I would say was decide on what you are going to be, glue end you're going to use, as to how much you need for the ends. You might only need a small amount. If you find that it's too long, you can always bind and cut some of it off afterwards, you know, once you've finished your project. Top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left. So this is exactly the same as your 8-strand basic Kumihimo that we did about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and that's on YouTube now as well. Right, so let me show you underneath. Now, if you struggle to find where you're at, run your hands over the top and actually see which are on top. Okay, that's where you did your latest move. So your next move would be the under threads. It doesn't actually matter which way you go from, you'll get exactly the same. The other thing you could do is perhaps bring it top down so that you know your next move's at the bottom. Right, so I don't know if you can see, it's quite small, but you've got, like, for example, these glue ends, so you could see that that is actually long enough to go in there, because you don't really want much of this showing, do you? There's those sorts of glue ends as well, so they're between 3 and 4 mil. If you were doing the cone ends, you could fit the gold cone ends and you would start your weave with that head pin at the start, like we did in the last one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how you add the beads. Now, you do not want to sit and watch me thread on all these beads. Now, I would say thread on 50 beads on each strand. To be honest, it's probably going to take you longer to thread the beads on than it is to make it. What if you find you don't like that, do 10 at a time, do a bit of Kumihimo. What you will need to do is to make sure they're all in the right slots when you add. So you'd have the same colour, top and opposite, top and bottom, and that way. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can add these beads. You can either light the end to stop it from fraying. So I'll show you that one first, where it just goes on nicely. So let's just put a few on there just to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so bobbins. To have bobbins or not bobbins is entirely up to you. Personally, I can't work with them. And the biggest tip I found was have a stopper bead on the bottom, or even tie a little knot at the bottom, and then bring it back and go back through the bead like so, and have it towards the end. Okay, so you haven't got to keep undoing that. The other option is to make yourself a needle. Now this is handy if you are sort of threading on gemstone chips or something like that as well. So I've wrapped it round the cord and I'm just making a little length. This saves you money on a big eye needle. You can have a needle on every one, and I'm not sure if it's going to work with this, but we'll give it a go. No, it's not going to work with this one, but it does work with your bigger beads. Let's just try another one. Oh yes, it does. It's just that one was small. Oh good. 1, 2, 3. Some of them are slightly smaller. 3. See how much quicker that is. 4, 5. Stop a bead. Okay. I'm going to keep that needle on the bottom there so that it's easier for threading. Next. So this one, I'm going to make another little needle, as that was so successful. Wrap that around. I'm using 0.3mm wire. It doesn't have to be too long either. And this is the blue one, which is opposite. Sometimes some of the holes are bigger than others. It's good to have a pair of pliers at the handy as well, so that you can just pull it through. Oops. It's not gone quite as smoothly on this one, so it's a little bit, you know, sort of hit and miss. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, that's okay. 4. Believe you me, when you're threading on 50 each strand, it doesn't sound a lot, but anything that helps is a bonus. Right. Okay, so that's 5. So these are size 6 seed beads, just odd size 6 seed beads that I've got, that I'm adding as a stopper on the bottom. So the next one, I'm going to lighter that one. One. Oops. 2, 3, 4. So you have to play around with the beads sometimes. 4, 5. Like I say, you don't want to watch me doing 50 of each, so pop a stopper bead on that one. So just to show you where we're at, we've got the blues on these. Just pop those away, and we'll have browns on the others. So, you know, choose, like I say, you can have just one colour if you prefer, but it really does create a very beautiful effect. So I don't think you need to see me doing all of these, but let's see how we go. It won't take me long. 1, 2, 3, because I can actually show you how we start this off and then we can go over to the other board. So just sit with your cuppa in front of the telly, adding on your beads, you know, and then before you know it, it's all on there. Now, obviously, like the patterned Kumihimo, you know, you can do patterned Kumihimo with this as well. You could do 4 different colours if you want to. The choices are limited, or unlimited, I should say, not limited. So the last 2, so we're doing blocks of 2 in the same colour on opposite. One. Whoops. This is not the sort of intricate work I like doing on camera, can you tell? Give me a needle any day. But I do love Kumihimo. I think it's wonderful. And I think what we should do is really explore, you know, what can we do with it? It's not just doing plain Kumihimo. You know, you've got your wirework projects, your bead embroidery projects, your bead weaving. You know, let's combine multiple types of jewellery making. Let's zazz it up a bit. Okay, so pop the stopper bead on. Right, I'm just going to go off camera a second while I can see what I'm doing. Let's go for a different bead. Of course, stopper bead's more hard than the other things. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie a knot at the bottom of that one and faff around. You get the gist, don't you? Right, okay, let's move these bits out of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing. So let's just resume to where we were. Those were the ones that we did last because they're raised and they're on the top. And so we're doing the underneath beads. So shimmy a bead, and that bead, it's so important, this bit is, can you see you've got this one crossing? I'm just going to zoom in a bit so that you can actually see a little bit better. Right, can you see where that's gone inside there? Okay, that needs to lock underneath this one before you secure it this side. So every single move you do now, you will be adding a seed bead. So we're going to add another seed bead to the next one. So push it underneath the horizontal one to lock it underneath, and then pull that over. So you can see those are not moving around. Okay, if they pop out, they will look very different and not give you the weave that you are looking for. So we add a bead every single time now. So pop that underneath the horizontal one and continue as you would before. So lock that under the horizontal one and bring that up. So you're continuing your top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left. So slot that underneath the adjoining one on the same side to lock that in place. It's handy to have a little bead reamer or perhaps a needle, a darning needle, so that you can push them down if they pop back up again. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit now. So there you go. Hopefully you can see that. So you continue in that way. So you just push up a bead, slot it underneath and bring that down. So you're still doing top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left. Yes, it takes more time, but, whoops, is that the right one? But it is so satisfying, the results of this. And what you're making sure is that this is in the zone in the middle, that you've got your threads nicely taut as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do now that we've started from scratch is I'm going to switch over to my project so that I can finish that with you. So as you can see, that's starting to form quite nicely. So let's put that to one side. Now, here's one I did earlier. This is silver and purple. And you've got beads left on the side with your stopper bead. So again, those were the top ones you did last. And notice that it's still in the center, top down, top right to bottom right. Add a bead every single time, unless of course you want an area where it's totally plain. Top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left. So we're still locking that in horizontally. Pull on your threads every now and then. So if you just, in your mind, just think it's exactly the same as your basic Kumihimo, you're just using a finer thread and you're just adding a bead every time. And obviously the way you've set up the beads on your board will have a significant difference as to how it pans out at the end, the pattern. Pull on those. Now that really would be where you would benefit from a weight, is it's going to pull it down and it's going to probably keep it taut, a bit more taut throughout. But it is very difficult to teach anyway while you've got a weight on the bottom. So pop that underneath. So it has to lock underneath, otherwise you will have some random beads popping up in random places. Now don't use all of the beads if you don't need them. You know, you will need to, some cases you might need to add more, in some cases you might need to add less. You've also got to take into account the end fastenings you've got as well. Oops. Always good to have an extender as well, so that if you find you've done it a little bit short, then obviously an extender will really help with that. Right, can you see? Sometimes they really don't want to hook in, so just take your time with it until that sits nicely. So in a moment, I'm going to do a few more rounds of this, and then I'm going to show you how we then bind it and make the ends plain as well. Well, ends plain first and then bind it. Just making sure I'm on view. So that's coming along quite lovely. Now I worked it out, and now I wrote down the combination of how many beads per inch. I'll have a look at that after, because I can't remember. Oops. So if it just keeps popping up, take your time, make sure it's hooked underneath those horizontal threads. I'm going to have a little comparison to my wrist size just to see how I'm doing for size on that. So that'll be a wee bit tight but workable. Let's just do a little bit more. I am conscious that it's not the most interesting thing to actually watch. You know, once you've got the gist of it, you know, you only need to see so much, don't you really? But you can bead with any type of, you can kumihimo with any type of beads, providing the thread fits into the whole of the bead. That's the other thing you've got to bear in mind. You can also kumihimo with tiger tail as well. You know, there are other threads that you can use. You know, if you've got an abundance of something at home, I would say try it, see what works for you. Right, let's just do another little round and then I'll show you how we finish off. Okay, right, so once you're satisfied that your length is as you want it, what you need to do is to do plain at the end so that you can get your glue on ends. So you just carry on without your beads being added. And I'm going to do it a bit shorter than the other end because I think it was a bit, I did it a bit long. But like I say, it's no great shakes. It is better to be longer than shorter, if I'm honest, because you can always cut it down, can't you? Much easier to do that. So just a plain weave. But can you see how important it is as well that you don't have any stretching on the slots from rat tail, because it will not give you a good solid weave. Now I think I'm just going to do a wee bit more. The binding is very similar to before. So you've got your two top threads, you want opposites from underneath. Is that opposites? Yeah, that's opposites. Tie those in a temporary knot so that when you take it off the board, basically it won't all unravel. So take all of these bits off, and there you've got your beaded Kumihimo. Make quite a nice little clasp, wouldn't it? So you can take all of these off at the bottom, or you could just cut them if you prefer. To be honest, I'd probably empty them, colour and empty them instead of doing it randomly like this, but there you go. So those are all done with. Push those out of the way. Let's talk ends before we actually do this last little bit. So these are 4mm glue ends. Now I've actually got more of these in the thread, so those are actually quite nice. I'd attach the clasp before you glue them. You can also use the head pin method with little cone ends like this, but you'd need a shorter stump for the end. You can also use the cone ends as well if you were using the method that we did before with a head pin. I think that's quite nice. There's the gold ones as well. Got loads of gold ones. You've got these smaller glue ends as well, which can be a little bit fiddly to actually get the ends in. You probably have to bind them quite tightly, but they do fit. Okay, so you need a little bit of cotton. Beaders cotton I tend to use. So I loop it round, so I have a loop in the centre, and then loop that round. And basically position it where you want it bound and cut. And then I'm going to wrap around sort of 5 or 6 times. And tie it in a knot with the other side. Okay, so that's that one. And I'm going to bind the other end because I'm not really happy with how much I've got showing there, how much of that end bit I've got showing. So I'm going to cut that off as well. So I'm just binding it. If you've got a more comfortable way of binding it, then do so. It's just really so that when you cut it, you know, it's not going to come unraveling because you've done all that hard work. It really is worth taking your time with it. Place a double knot on there. Okay, so before we do anything else with that, I am going to attach the components on here. So I've got flat nose pliers and chain nose pliers, and I've got some jump rings. So the jump ring, you have the slit at the 12 o'clock and you open. Let's just zoom in a wee bit. So you open them, so you've got the slit up at 12 o'clock, pop that on there. I'm going to pop an extender chain on there as well, and then close up. The reason to do it this way, whoops, is the fact that if it's not dry, the glue, you're just going to mess around with the glue and sort of risk it all coming undone. So that's one side, and then I'm going to add a clasp the other side. Do you know, it's really hard to see the slits in these. It's probably just me. Right. bracelet, the 12 o'clock. Just open it, lever action, pop on the clasp and pop on the glue end. Okay, and then close that up so that the two ends meet. Okay, so we need our E6000 glue at the ready, but before we do that, we are going to trim off the excess on both ends. So you don't really want any more than sort of 2 mil above. You see that? Okay, let's cut the thread. You could undo it, but I'm just going to trim it off. Keep the excess because you can use those for doing some tassels. Let's trim that down a wee bit more. Obviously you want to trim it down so that you've reduced the amount of bulk that's actually in your clasp. Now you can either pop glue on the ends. I prefer to pop glue inside the ends itself. So E6000, I tend to actually pop it on a laminated mat. It's just an old laminated piece that I've got, and then circulate the glue on the inside. Don't worry if it spills over because you can actually take off any excess. Then push that in, hold it for about 30 seconds just to give it time to fuse together a little bit. And it is a 24-hour set glue, but it does give some immediate bonding with it. So can you see, if you didn't even want that bit showing, the blue at the end, you could make these bits even smaller. Okay, and this end, again, push that in. And then resist the temptation to try it on. But there you have your beaded bracelet with the clasp. There you go. So let's zoom out. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put you on my other stand. And I'm just going to have a quick look and have a reminder as to how many beads we need per inch. I thought I'd written it down. You can definitely work it out. So if this is 7.5, I have written it down, but I don't understand what I've written. That's great, isn't it? I'll put a note up on the post. That's the easiest thing to do. Right, so let's see if you've got any questions. Right, so thank you, Francis. I'm glad you like it. We go very nicely with... Right, I've lost that comment now. Hello, other Francis. Looks great, must try it. Yes, we must get together and have a bash. Francis said would go nicely with the necklace she made last year. Fantastic. Don't forget to share it in the group as well. Eslam for sale. Yes, the cards should be up in the group at the moment as well, and they are so reasonable. And you've got a good selection on there as well. Hello, Linda. Deb's got to go. No problem, Deb. I hope you enjoyed. How do you know how long your thread should be? Okay, it's generally 4 to 4.5 times the length it's going to be. Okay, 7, 14, 21, 28. So say for example a 7-inch bracelet would be between 28 stroke 30 inches, but I always like to err on the extra side. As you can see, you know, I'd got quite a bit of excess left, but there's nothing worse than getting right through your project and finding you haven't got enough. So that's generally the rule, is 4 to 4.5 times the end length. So obviously per strand. And obviously you do the same for your necklace as well. Does the Eslon used in today's project have a number strength? I think it does, but I can't remember what it was. So I will check that out as well. Just looking through your comments. Janet said she wants to do this. Brilliant. I don't think you said you've done much Kumihimo before, didn't you? Hello, Tracy. Glad you like that. Lydia, glad you like the tutorial as well. Linda said, looks fab. I'm going to do a bracelet and necklace to match. Fabulous. I think they look so classy. I know you said you all wanted to do this. If you want to have a bash yourself, okay, before the tutorial, I've got the same clasps on the end. I have just, what I've done is I've secured the threads around the donut, and then I've done something called a whipping knot around it as well to secure it. So I've actually started it from here, done the clasp and done the same the other side as well. So probably the only things that you haven't covered are the whipping knots and just how to sort of start off with attaching it to the donut. Please let me know if you still like to have a tutorial on that. Obviously we won't go into as much detail about the beaded Kumihimo, really focusing on how you finish and how you do the tassels. So do let me know, and whether or not you prefer to do that next week while it's all fresh, or if you prefer a little bit of a break as well. Janet says she hasn't done much as she got in a muddle with the beads, but she did use the same board I use with the thicker thread. I think, you know, I learned the hard way, and teaching a group of people is not the best learning experience, but it's one that I will not forget. Yes, please, on the donut. What for next week? Does that next week? Yeah. Okay, we shall do that then. And I have the donuts for sale as well. So for this week's giveaway, I have a wire wrapped rose, literally in colour rose gold orchid. So all you need to do to be entered, I'm not going to actually announce the winner till tomorrow evening, so you've got a chance to actually watch probably up until about 6 tomorrow evening. Just give me a thumbs up, just pop me a note in the comments, and you also will get free P&P on anything you wish to order as well. I am just going to have a quick look through the thread just to make sure I haven't missed anyone. I think there's some comments that aren't actually coming up. Hello, Trisha. No. I think I will probably see some of the comments afterwards. Itching to get going. I'm so excited that you enjoy it. It really is, makes my Thursday tutorial time so worthwhile, to know that you've got something out of it. Saba says, is there a way to attach a 3-hole rhinestone bar like a bar? I was just for making tassels just like the donut. I can't see why not, but you'd have to have something. Oh, yeah, I suppose so. The 3-strand bar. So are you saying like the 3-strand bra? We don't want one of those. We want a 3-strand bar across the centre and then the tassels at the bottom. Is that what you're thinking? Nice thought. Have to give that some thought. Kevin's going to add to his latest Tiger's Eye Kumihimo pendant necklace. Fabulous. Okay, I will let you guys go. After watching, I know I babble at the end, so I'm not going to bubble anymore this week. You guys take care. Do not forget, tune in Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, the craft store. Looking forward to it. Take care.